In the strict world of forensic biology, there are rules. There are probabilities. There are standard operating procedures that nature tends to follow with ruthless efficiency. Usually, when a bald eagle pair loses a clutch, especially this late in the season, and especially after a catastrophic predation event like the one we witnessed in January, the biological protocol is simple: shut down, conserve energy, survive the winter to try again next year. But in Big Bear Valley, the standard operating procedures do not apply. We are tracking a biological anomaly, a deviation from the norm that has turned a story of loss into a high-stakes gamble for survival. This is Scape news, and we are opening a new case file, Double Jeopardy. Because as of February 27th, Jackie and Shadow haven't just replaced a lost egg. They have doubled their burden. They have laid a second egg in a replacement clutch, a feat that pushes their physical limits to the absolute breaking point. Tonight, we investigate why 2 eggs might actually be exponentially more dangerous than 1. We're going to look at the calcium depletion that is currently ravaging Jackie's system. We will analyze the thermal physics of the cold spot theory. And we will break down why the next 35 days will be the most critical test of Shadow's career as a defender. Let's look at the timeline evidence first. The interval is precise. Almost exactly 72 hours separate the arrival of egg number 1 and egg number 2. Now, to the casual observer, this looks like a standard biological rhythm. But the forensic context here is anything but standard. We need to talk about what it actually costs to build an egg. An eagle eggshell is roughly 97% calcium carbonate. To produce one, a female eagle must mobilize massive amounts of calcium from her own body. In a standard first clutch, she has had months to build up these reserves from her diet. But this is a replacement clutch. Jackie already spent her primary reserves on the first clutch in January. So, where is the calcium coming from for this second round? Forensic biology suggests she is now dipping into her skeletal reserves. She is essentially borrowing from her own bone density to calcify these shells. This is a physiological emergency state. When a raptor produces a second clutch without a significant recovery period, the eggs often show signs of stress. They can be thinner, they can be slightly smaller, and the mother is left in a state of acute nutritional deficit. This explains the urgency we are seeing in Shadow's behavior. He isn't just feeding a brooding partner, he is trying to replenish a female who is operating on a caloric deficit. Every fish he brings now isn't just for energy, it is for mineral replacement. If that calcium isn't replaced, Jackie risks egg binding or simply becoming too weak to incubate. The biological cost of this double jeopardy scenario is already being paid, and the bill is steep. But here is where the investigation shifts from biology to physics. With 1 egg, the thermal seal is relatively easy to maintain. A single brood patch, that featherless area on the eagle's chest, covers the surface area of 1 egg completely. It is a closed system. Heat goes in, very little gets out. But introduce a second object, and the geometry of survival changes. You can see it in the footage. Watch how she struggles to position them. This isn't just a matter of comfort. This is thermal engineering. There is a concept in thermodynamics called a heat sink. If one of these eggs is unviable, if 1 egg fails to develop or gets chilled, it stops generating its own metabolic heat later in incubation. It essentially becomes a stone, a cold object sitting directly against the living egg, sucking the warmth away from the viable embryo. This is why you will see Jackie and Shadow rolling them constantly. It is a frantic attempt to mix the thermal energy. They are trying to ensure that neither egg becomes the cold spot that dooms the other. In a single egg clutch, you protect the egg from the air. In a 2-egg clutch, you have to protect the eggs from each other. It is a constant, 24-hour physical labor that does not stop for sleep, wind, or snow. To understand the external threat, we have to revisit the crime scene from January 30th. The Ravens didn't win that day because they were stronger. They won because they are intelligent. They profiled the nest. They waited for the shift change, that brief window where the nest was left unattended. Ravens are corvids. They are problem solvers. They don't just see a nest, they see a pattern. They know that when Shadow stands up, there is a delay before Jackie settles. Now look at the current situation. With 2 eggs, the shift change becomes a clumsy maneuver. We've analyzed the footage of Shadow taking over for Jackie. It takes longer to settle. It takes longer to align the eggs. Every second spent shuffling and rolling is a second where the white of those eggs is visible from the sky. To a raven patrolling at 500 feet, 2 bright white orbs are a beacon. They are a high-contrast signal in a dark nest. The visual signature of this nest has just doubled in intensity. Shadow isn't just guarding a potential offspring anymore. He is guarding a high-visibility target that is screaming for attention. We have also seen evidence of testing. Ravens will often fly by just to provoke a reaction, gauging the aggression level of the defenders. If Shadow chases them, he leaves the eggs exposed. If he stays, they know they can get closer. It is a psychological game of chicken, and with 2 eggs on the line, the eagles cannot afford a single miscalculation. This brings us to the male's burden. In a single egg scenario, Shadow's role is roughly 50% incubation, 50% hunting. But with 2 eggs, and Jackie in a state of calcium depletion, the caloric demand skyrockets. She cannot leave the nest for long. She cannot hunt efficiently with depleted reserves. This forces Shadow into a new protocol, the sole provider. He must now hunt for 3 entities: himself, Jackie, and the thermal energy required to keep 2 eggs at 99 degrees Fahrenheit. If Shadow fails to bring food, Jackie will be forced to make the starvation choice. Does she starve on the nest to keep the eggs warm, or does she leave them exposed to hunt for herself? That specific decision is the #1 cause of nest failure in replacement clutches. We are watching for signs of this stress right now. Watch for extended periods where Shadow refuses to get up from the eggs. Watch for Jackie calling out for food but receiving no answer because Shadow is too exhausted or too wary of predators to leave the perimeter. These are the forensic indicators that the double Jeopardy workload is taking its toll. So, what are the odds? Historically, replacement clutches have a significantly lower success rate. The season is late. The birds are tired. The predators are wise to the location. And the physics of keeping 2 eggs warm in freezing temperatures creates a margin for error that is razor thin. But data is just numbers. And what we are witnessing in Big Bear is pure will. Jackie has defied the calendar. She has defied the exhaustion. She has placed 2 more chips on the table in a game she refuses to lose. We are now on a 35-day countdown. The danger zone has officially begun. We will be monitoring the thermal logs, the feeding intervals, and the perimeter activity 24/7. To stay part of this investigation and see if they can pull off the impossible, make sure you are subscribed and have your notifications on. This is Scape News. We'll see you on the next watch, and as always, be safe.
Welcome to the Inner Circle. This isn't just a membership, it's a mission. You're supporting forensic truth, mythic blends, and ceremonial broadcasts that honor every moment. Members unlock exclusive enhancements, behind-the-scenes alerts, and direct access to the pulse of Scape News and leading sponsor, Gold Rush Fever Specialty Coffee. Join us and help shape the signal. We thank you, and as always, stay safe. That's the latest from Scape News. We're live, we're watching, we thank you. Subscribe, like, share, and ring the bell so you don't miss what breaks next. Stay with us, we appreciate you, and as always, be safe.